I'm Alex Stossel from the DMV Sportsnet and Grant Flood from Flood's Sports Zone. And we are with, and we got Samuel Reis from the All Sports Talk Show. Sam, thanks for coming out today.
Absolutely. No worries, guys. I appreciated being on your show. First time you had me on, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was before the playoffs got started. And now with the playoffs in full action here, in the beginning of September, which is crazy to think about. I'm definitely excited to discuss all the topics you guys have in store for on today's show, because it's definitely been a fun NHL playoffs thus far, except for myself as a Bruins fan. But we'll leave that aside. For a neutral fan, there's definitely been great games and great series.
Yes. Speaking of
Bruins, because good old me and Sam, we are not going to be happy campers about that, to say the least. But
yeah, and I saw Sam once Hedman scores, he just said, "Look," through his paper. I chuckled in a funny way.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that my reaction was. I didn't even realize what I did. I just remember I was just so mad, and then I guess Isaac rewatched it and took a clip of that portion of the broadcast, and I guess it's going viral. I don't know.
I'll tell you what I did. I said Hedman scores and just sat in my chair, 3 minutes of silence, just wicked upset. Yeah, but I like the way how you did it better.
Yeah,
I just threw the notes out.
Yeah. All right. Anyway. Let's get this out of the way. If you guys like this podcast so far, please hit the like button. Definitely greatly appreciates a lot to us. That's going to make us do more podcast videos. And let's use the hashtag Sam will go viral from the paper throw. Anyway, let's get this party started. 5 free agents. This is going to be the last one, maybe. But anyway, this is our first player. Let's go with Ron Hainsey from the Ottawa Senators. $3.5 million. He's a defenseman, 39 years of age. Will he resign with Ottawa or call it a career? Grant, would you like to start? Ron Hainsey.
I gotta be honest with you, I didn't even realize he was on the Senators. I thought he was on the Hurricanes. Anyway, Ron Hainsey, good but old. He's probably gonna retire. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't see why a team would want to pick him up. And honestly, the fact that you're 39, I just don't think you want to, waste your time in the KHL. He overall has a very successful NHL career. And honestly, if he was to call it a retirement, I honestly think he'd take it. He did have a very long career and won a couple cups with Pittsburgh. And yeah, I do think he'll retire in the offseason.
Yes, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was right when you said Rob Hainsey, I was like, how old is he? Because he's been in the league forever now, and yeah, he's 39 years old. I just looked it up. So yeah, honestly, I don't see any other team in the league that would necessarily have an interest in him. And if Ottawa were to let him know that, okay, you can stay here if you want to keep playing, I don't think he'd honestly have any good reason to continue playing with that Ottawa team, who still has a lot of rebuilding and a lot of work to do before they can be a legit team that could possibly be even in the hunt for the playoffs. So I don't see why he would want to continue even one more year with the Senators, and I don't really see any other team in the league necessarily wanting to get Rob Hainsey. And yeah, he's in a pretty good career. He's 39 years old. I think he's just going to say, you know what, I'm happy with my career. We'll call it quits here, because you can't really blame him if that's the case, considering the situation he is in with Ottawa right now.
Yeah, here's an interesting move. Ottawa has third and fifth overall picks of this year's draft. If they take Jamie Drysdale and Jake Sanderson, I think Ron Hainsey is going to say, yeah, I'm going to call it a career. I already got a Stanley Cup. We're all good. I should say come back to Pittsburgh, because I've been saying this numerous times. Pittsburgh is a team that has a lot of class leadership, veteran type. You got Patrick Marleau, Chris Letang, and Crosby, Malkin are coming in, and Patrick Hornquist. I could see that as a possibility for one more year, and then they'll be all good.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, I'm not sure if we said this, but we'll go with Vlad Ceboka from the Buffalo Sabres. He was injured the whole time. $3.5 million per year. He's a left-wing, 33 years of age. Will he resign with Buffalo or KHL? Sam, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Ceboka's a tough one because, as you said, I kind of forgot about him because he was injured for so much of the season. I definitely would like to see more of him. Buffalo are paying a lot of money for him. I'm not sure if the Sabres will be willing to wait any longer to see if they can get anything out of Ceboka. And if they let Ceboka go elsewhere, they would free up a lot of space because of the amount of money they're paying him currently to get another solid young player. Because let's be real, the Sabres team has needs a lot of work to be done, as they are also in a rebuilding process pretty much. And I think they really want to see some young players that they can develop and turn into superstars who will lead the way for this team, 3, 4, 5 years down the road when this Buffalo team could possibly be a playoff contender. So honestly, if I had to choose, I think the Sabres will say we've had enough with Ceboka, and I think he'll probably, go to the KHL, to be honest with you. I could see that as a real possibility.
Graham, what do you think? Vlad Ceboka.
Yeah, I think we brought up Vladimir Ceboka before. And yeah, definitely KHL. He was good on the Blues for a while, but obviously since he came over to the Sabres, he's been pretty injury prone. So it's just, I agree with Sam. If you're at Buffalo and you're just looking, 2-3 years down the road where you could perhaps be a legit playoff team, you want to fill up your roster with the young players and the star free agents you can get and not overpay them like Jeff Skinner. But anyway, overall, yeah. I would not go. I wouldn't keep Ceboka around. Probably KHL, unless one team really wants him. I wouldn't see why, though. So unless someone was going to pick him up for the fourth line, I'm not even going to guess who. I'd say maybe Washington. We'll get to them in a little bit in the show. But overall, I'd say KHL.
Yeah, Vlad Ceboka. I'm gonna agree with Sam for this one. That I think Buffalo is having enough with Bomb 6 players because let's be real, the Bomb 6 is such a disaster.
Yes.
I gotta tell you that they need some quality Bomb 6 players like Sam Bennett. They can have a legitimate shot of getting Sam Bennett. Like, he's not a trade block, but if that ever happens, then they have a good shot of getting Sam Bennett. I kind of see him go to Calgary for more like seasoning. Possibly like Ottawa or Boston. Like, I think that I saw some reports about him going to Boston. I'm not sure, but let's just say like.
Yeah.
I think that means you have to get rid of Joakim Nordstrom. Don't do that.
Yeah. Next one, another Buffalo guy, Zemgus Girgensons, $1.6 million per year, 26 years old. Will you resign with Buffalo, yes or no? Grant, take it away.
Wow. I would assume they have to bring him back. He is a pretty decent player overall. He's on their second line. I like Zemgus Girgensons a lot. Sure, he hasn't been, the player that they totally wanted when they drafted him, but overall, he's still a solid player. Can really get the job done on that second or third line. Yeah, I'm assuming the Sabres will probably resign him to a 2-3 deal. He's honestly earned it, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't looked at his stats in a while, but I think overall, he's a pretty efficient player. So I like him. I'd say if you're the Sabres, resign him.
Yeah, Zemgus Girgensons.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Grant here. From the few Buffalo Sabres games that I did see when, they played the Bruins and some nationally televised games that I saw, I actually thought Girgensons was at times, one of their better players on the ice. And, that's not saying a whole lot since this is a Buffalo team who lacks star power, that's for sure, outside of Jack Eichel. But I think Girgensons, yes, he's 26 years old. Yes, he hasn't been great since the Sabres drafted him, but there's still a little bit of potential there. I think he's shown glimpses of what he's capable of doing talent-wise on the ice, and I honestly would be shocked if they didn't keep him. As Grant said, I don't think they have any choice but to keep him because he's a player that still has a little more potential. I think even though he's been in the league for a while now, he's shown glimpses of what he can do. And I think if you put him around some more talent in Buffalo, he could evolve into even a better player. And I think one of the best players on the Sabres team, as I think he already is one of their better players as well. So yeah, I think if you're Buffalo, you don't risk losing him. You make sure that you keep him with the Sabres as part of the goal going forward to develop a younger team and become a playoff contender eventually. So yeah, I think they'll keep Girgensons, and I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Sam. I think Zemgus Girgensons has been giving a solid underrated player, but only on the Buffalo side. If I was surprised if they didn't, I kind of see him go to a team like Tampa Bay or maybe St. Louis or like Nashville, or just to grab some.
Mind seeing Boston.
Yeah, I think like Girgensons needs some upside potential, like where like everyone was expecting for him to be when he was at the draft day. So I think if he goes to a different team, I think then he needs more seasoning so that he can show, like, if he wasn't on a terrible Buffalo Sabres team, then they would know, all right, like, well, we're gonna trust him for a new team. We'll see, like, if the Sabres do not even draft him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. We'll do 4 more just to make it quick. The last 4, I should say. Andrej Sekera from the Dallas Stars. He's been interesting. $2.5 million per year. 34 years old defenseman. I'm gonna say he does not re-sign with the Dallas Stars because Dallas is a team that is more likely on forwards. Like, forwards is the one that has been doing the most work for the whole season. I kind of see it go to a team like Florida, maybe like St. Louis if anything happens to their decor, or maybe Toronto. Let's just say that. Grant, what do you think, Andrej Sekera?
Yeah, sure. I mean, all those options are pretty good. But the fact is, he's 34 and he hasn't really had a productive year since about 2016. Honestly, I wouldn't say Sekera would retire, but I'm thinking KHL might be the way to go for him if no team picks him up near the end of free agency. Because I feel like someone like Sekera, teams are not going to wait around to sign him if they have an injury to their decor. I feel like since he's 34, they're either going to pick him up for the playoffs or they're just going to keep him in the AHL. And honestly, why not? If you're Sekera, I mean, honestly, why not go to the KHL and just try to make one last run in the NHL in a year or two? That's what I'm thinking he's probably going to end up doing.
Yes, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, this one's a tough one for sure because I, like probably both of you, have been watching a lot of the NHL playoffs since it got underway about a month ago, and I've seen quite a number of Dallas Stars games as well, which I don't get to see Dallas play that much in the regular season. And yeah, he's on that third line on defense for the Stars, and honestly, like, sometimes I don't even know he's out on the ice. I mean, he's kind of just there. I feel like he's definitely past his prime. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Sekera here, but he's okay. He's okay. He doesn't really make any big time plays on defense, I feel like, for the Stars. So I agree. I agree in the sense that I don't know if Dallas will find any worth in keeping him. And I think the Stars will say, you know what? He's past his prime. He's getting up there in age. He's an all right player, but I still think the Stars could get maybe something from him. I don't know how much, but I don't know what team necessarily Sekera could go to. Alex, shout out a couple of possibilities. There's no one team in my mind that really comes out at me that says they will really want to pick up this guy. So maybe he could be done with the NHL and go to the KHL. Then again, I wouldn't be that surprised if there was another NHL team that picks him up this offseason. But yeah, I think he's done in Dallas after this postseason, no matter how well the Stars do. Because he is getting up there in age, and he's an okay defenseman. He's mediocre.
Yes.
I would say Sharks if I had to pick one team that Sekera would go to. I'd say Sharks for the third line.
Okay. All right.
You got the jersey too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brent Burns for the Beast.
Yeah. Next one, Dale Weiss, $2.35 million per year. This has been an interesting one because I've never heard Dale Weiss's name for a long time. But let's be real. Will he resign with Montreal? Grant, would you like to start?
You shouldn't, but they probably will re-sign him. He always scores against the Bruins. He drives me crazy. But I know he does absolutely nothing for like 40 games straight, and then he score a hat trick against the Bruins. I don't know why. But overall, Dale Weiss is okay. I mean, he's always been a fourth liner. He's just like Sekera. He's kind of like that fourth liner who's just there. He never goes away. It's just like you're thinking, oh, this will be the year Montreal or Philadelphia or Vancouver, whatever team he's on. You're thinking, oh, this will be the year they get rid of him. And then they just keep on giving him 1 year deal after 1 year deals. I'm going to assume the same thing this year since Montreal, played pretty well in the playoffs, and overall Weiss, he's not really good in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he's all right. Montreal's going to somehow find a way to give him a 1 or 2 year deal, calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I almost forgot about him. You're right. I mean, when was the last time I heard his name? Yeah, you're probably right, Grant. It was when he scored against the Bruins back in the regular season. And yeah, he's in his 30s now. And he's bounced around the league a lot. So this is just a tricky one. I feel like Montreal might just say, "Hey, you know what? You have made contributions for our team at times in the regular season, and we'll just keep you because maybe you can help us, get a win now and then, and maybe for Montreal."
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll be like a couple, it'll probably come down to the wire for the Canadians as to, whether or not they make the playoffs next year. They'll probably be right on the bubble, and it'll come down to just grinding out some wins, and maybe Dale Weiss can get you 1 or 2 extra wins, and I feel like they'll just say, you know what, we'll just keep you around, and maybe you can work some of your magic now and then, even though you're invisible for like 80% of the season. I just have a weird feeling like Grant does that Montreal are just going to decide to keep him, although I'm not sure if they honestly should, because I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, because I think he's been paying for it for like at least 2 or 3 years now. They keep on bringing him back, and I know it's not even Montreal. I know other teams he was on were doing it too. It's just he's the one player just like you think's gonna go, but never ends up leaving somehow. It's gonna be weird. If Reis somehow leaves, he's definitely not going to the KHL. Definitely a team's gonna want to bring him to occasionally pull off that magic. Pixie dust he calls scoring twice a game against the Bruins once a year. But other than that, I don't know. So some Eastern Conference teams going to pick him up if Montreal doesn't re-sign him. Let's just put it to you that way.
All right. I'm going to say this is the most shocking signing to Dale Weiss. AHL contract to the Laval Rocket, the Montreal Canadiens farm team.
That makes sense too. That makes sense too. Call him up when you need to, yeah.
Yeah,
because he's most likely an AHL guy right now. So, why not, stand in the AHL? I would be, jumped out of my seat if he signs with the Hershey Bears. Be with Matt Molson. That's going to be a legit team. Yeah. All right.
Daniel Weiss and Matt Molson, that is a blasphemy. My goodness.
Yeah. All right, we'll do 2 more. So this is going to be a veteran side. But we'll just say this: Justin Williams for the Carolina Hurricanes. Okay, he's 38 years old. Yes, he played like half of the season. Will he call this a career or sign somewhere else for like a one or 2 year deal? Sam, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, I've never been a fan of Justin Williams because for the most part, he's played on teams that I dislike as a Bruins fan. But yeah, what a career this guy has had. Now, being one of the leaders of the Hurricanes, his season came to an end against the Bruins. But I think I just have this weird feeling that he'll go a year or two longer. I'm not sure, though, if Carolina are going to hold on to him. I feel like a team that's maybe, a bit younger but are a team that could potentially make the playoffs may want to bring in Justin Williams because, he's still a decent player, let's be real. And also, of course, the biggest part is his leadership qualities as a veteran player. So, yeah, it's possible, actually – the San Jose Sharks, I know they're not a super young team, but they're a team who just missed out on the playoffs, and I feel like they'll be determined to get back into the postseason, obviously, because they have a good amount of talent to do so. Maybe that could be a destination for Justin Williams. I feel like the Sharks might be a team that would be willing to get him too, because I have a feeling that Williams will want to go 1 or 2 more seasons for sure. So yeah, because of his veteran leadership qualities and the fact that you can still get some value in him talent-wise because he is still a pretty decent player as well. So yeah, the Sharks is just the first team that came to my mind that could possibly be interested in him. But I think he'll be on his way out of Carolina, even though his reunion with the Hurricanes was sort of short-lived. I think he'll move on and move on to another team for at least another year or two before he finally says, all right, I'm retiring.
Grant, you're a Kings fan, Justin Williams.
Justin Williams, interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, Justin Williams is weird because then he retire, but then unretired. It's weird because if he retired last offseason, it almost makes me want to believe that, this is actually going to be it. But at the same time, I'm with Sam here because I'm like, well, okay, he came back. He proves he still has a little bit left in the tank. Might as well keep going as long as you know that your body can handle it pretty much. As long as you're ready to be committed and you're not afraid to get injured, just keep going. I would say Sharks at the Western Conference is a good guess. But honestly, teams that are near the playoff race, I would say Justin Williams go to probably the Rangers. 4th, 3rd, or 4th.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you this. Have him sign with the Kings so that they can go insane with the young guys. Go to Pittsburgh because Marlon needs help with the Stanley Cup. I'm going to tell you that. Marlon needs help with the Stanley Cup. Maybe go to Dallas. And the Rangers, I'd say this, Boston. Have Boston
last year.
Yeah. Especially if Chara, retires too. I mean, yeah, who knows what Chara's next steps are, but yeah, that's an interesting prospect of the possibility of Justin Williams going to Boston for sure. Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more, and this is going to be the last player for our UFAs, Jason Spezza. I'll tell you this, Jason Spezza, I have not seen him be injured since. But do you think he's going to give another shot? Yes or no? Grant, would you like to start?
Jason Spezza. I mean, kind of a scratch nowadays. I mean, he's overall a very good player. I think the real question is did Jason Spezza do just enough to get in the Hall of Fame or not? But that's a different story for a different day. I think overall he'll probably retire. I mean, if he does keep playing, he definitely shouldn't play in the KHL. He's too good for that. But he's not going to really fit anywhere on the Maple Leafs. If I had to take a guess, he'd probably play in, I don't know, maybe Calgary or Dallas. Could you return to Dallas maybe and pair up with Corey Perry? I don't know. But I would say Jay Spence is either retiring or going to the Stars or Flames.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I get the sense that he's going to retire. I really do. Yeah, as Grant said, he was a really good player. I think he was, what was he, the second overall pick, I believe, way back in
Ottawa. Yeah.
Yeah, to Ottawa in the early 2000s.
Right.
Yes, he's been around for a while now. He was a good player in his prime, but yeah, he has no place on he has no place on that Maple Leafs team to take, to be a regular in the lineup for Toronto. And I don't know if any other team will have any interest in him at this point. And I think Jason Spezza will say, I'm done because I don't got anything left in the tank, because we haven't really seen him play regularly in a few years now. So yeah. I just get a sense that he will retire, honestly, very shortly. And then, next month or two, we'll see though.
Yeah. I'm going to say this again. I want to see him go to Pittsburgh because for Pittsburgh, I want to see.
Because if a guy hasn't won a cup and he's in his late 30s, he has to join the Penguins just so he can win a cup. So Crosby and Malkin can carry him. You can carry on now.
Have Marlowe, Williams, and Spezza all go to Pittsburgh so that they can walk out like Ray Bork style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Why you're gonna put Lundqvist to Pittsburgh too?
Maybe. All right. That's gonna, yep. All right. That's gonna wrap up our final unrestricted free agents. We're gonna try to do RFA. So let's do our topics. Recap about the Bruins and Lightning game.
Oh no.
All right. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'll let you guys just go ahead. All right. Grant, what do you think about the Game 5 Bruins and Lightning? Don't be shy, bud. Let's go.
No, overall, I got to be honest with you. You cannot blame this loss on Yaroslav Halak. He played fantastic. Honestly, outside Game 3 and 4, he played pretty good. Outside Game 3 and 4. Game 1, Game 2, and Game 5, he played lights out. Especially in the third period. I was starting to call Halak a maniac again. Of course, that was the nickname I called him in the Carolina series. He was playing like a maniac again, especially in Game 5. Out of this world. He's like, dude, this guy's 36. He's moving like a young Tuukka Rask. It's ridiculous. He's making save after save after save. The problem is, what happened to Torrey Krug? Connor Clifton all of a sudden became one of the worst defensemen in the league in a span of a week. And no Sean Corrali definitely hurts as well. And I feel like guys like Brad Marchand and David Krejci, they were doing a good job, but they just couldn't carry the offense the whole way because really Pasternak did nothing when he came back either. And, it was a double overtime game. I just felt like the Bruins defense were getting a little bit tired. They were, and I said it actually on my Sportscast stream about 5-7 seconds before Hedman scored that goal, saying the Bruins got to play better defense. And Lomiel Hedman rips one from the blue line, and it goes in. And then let's just say it was a disappointing night for me and Sam. But, overall, congrats to Tampa Bay. They're going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the fourth time in 6 years. That is incredible. And my prediction is they will face the Islanders because I think New York will win Game 6 tomorrow. But I don't know, man. It should be interesting. Even if they face the Flyers, I'm still intrigued.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think about Game 5?
Listen, yeah, well, Game 5 was definitely devastating. Obviously, the Bruins had their backs to the wall at that point in the series after going down 3-1. Even if they had won Game 5, I don't think there was any way they were going to come back in the series, especially considering that Game 6 and 7 would have been back-to-back. So obviously it's devastating to lose in that fashion in double overtime. You guys saw my reaction while I was commentating the game live. It's just always devastating to have your season end on an overtime winner for the opposing team. And the Bruins played well in Game 5. Probably deserved to win that, but the focus can't just be on Game 5. Obviously, yeah, absolutely. That wasn't, that was the game they ended up losing the series on. But you can't overlook the rest of the series, and the Bruins only have themselves to blame here because, listen, yeah, games 2 and 3 especially, 3 and 4. 3 and 4 were just embarrassing, especially, obviously, Game 3 where they got absolutely smacked 7-1. Tampa Bay just proved that they're the better team, and this Lightning team is very hungry for the cup as well. That's not to say the Bruins weren't. I mean, obviously the Bruins were too. That's why I felt like this series was a coin flip, to be honest with you. But Tampa Bay, after getting swept by Columbus last year, they know they have a talented enough team to make a cup run and win it. And I think they have a legit chance of doing that now. The Bruins might have been their toughest test, and they beat the Bruins 4-1. And listen, from a Boston Bruins fan perspective, it's devastating, no doubt, because this team disappoints year after year. They won the cup in 2011, and in the last decade, with the roster they've had, they should have won like at least 3 or 4 cups, and they're just heartbreaking each year. I'm not saying they're the Maple Leafs, because at least the Bruins, have made it to the cup, but it's almost more devastating than being a Maple Leafs fan, because at least for Toronto fans, they know they're going to go out in the first round every year. For Bruins fans, you get your hopes up because they always make, they at least make it to the second round. And in last year's case, they made it to the finals, and you always get your hopes up so high, and then they always disappoint. And I feel like every year for the past 5, 6, 7 years, it's more likely that the Bruins are going to disappoint you than win the cup, and that's held true. I feel for Zdeno Chara too. I know a lot of people say at this point, why is Chara getting as many minutes as he is? He's got to get off the ice. Yes, he is. He is slow. He is getting up there in age, and he's not the Chara of old. That I shouldn't say of old, because that kind of goes up against my argument, but he is old in age. But the Chara of his prime, back when he was younger, is what I mean to say. But he is a leader of this team, and he's given it everything he's got. Last year was the chance for the Bruins to win it, quite frankly. Tampa Bay lost. Washington lost. The Bruins played the Blue Jackets and the Hurricanes in the final 2 rounds of the Eastern Conference, and then they played a Blues team who, what was a good team, but that wasn't a great Blues team. Last year was the Bruins' chance. Everything went their way in the bracket. They got an easy road through, and that was their opportunity to win it. And I feel for Chara, especially because if you remember last year in the Stanley Cup final, he broke his jaw and still played through it. This guy just gives it everything. Right. Gave it everything he's got for this organization. Yes, he won a cup back in 2011 with the Bruins, but it would have been great to see him win another one. And the fact of the matter is that this is probably the end for Boston, because a lot of those older players are getting towards the end of their careers. I'm sure you guys probably saw David Krejci in his post game. I mean, it really sunk in for him that this was probably their last chance, and another opportunity wasted. And honestly, we do have to blame Bruce Cassidy a little bit, I feel like, because he just he took too long to figure out the lineup. I mean, this Bruins team has some talented young players. I'm not saying the Bruins are going away. I just don't think they'll compete for a cup in quite a bit now. They do have a lot of good young players, and they should still be a playoff team, I believe. But I mean, it was just frustrating. And as much as I love Bergeron, he was a no-show in this Tampa series, I felt. Marchand was really good throughout the playoffs, but but he was the only one I felt like that really impressed me for the veteran players on this team. Pastrnak, he was dealing with an injury apparently. And he just wasn't himself these entire playoffs. You could tell in his game. And I kind of felt bad for Charlie Coyle as well, because I was really impressed with Coyle, but Bruce Cassidy keeps messing around with that third line, and he always has different line mates. By the way, Nick Ritchie, he is useless. I mean, I couldn't stand Nick Ritchie at all.
Yeah, I know. I know. We're like, oh my goodness, we just robbed the Ducks. Let's give me a good trade because Nick Ritchie's going to fill up that third line. Nope. No. Yeah. He's honestly, buy him out. Buy him out if he's a better player in free agency.
I know. And Andre Kasha, he was okay. He was okay, I thought. And by the way, Krejci, he was great too. I shouldn't forget about David Krejci. But honestly, I thought the young players didn't get enough opportunity. I really liked what I saw from Jack Studnicka. Nordstrom is a good player. Carson Kuhlman, I think he should have played more. Bruce Cassidy just took too long to figure out his perfect lineup really, and that was frustrating. They relied too heavily on the power play too, and talent for talent, Tampa were just the better team overall. It was so frustrating too because the Bruins would have so many chances, and Tampa Bay, their defense was just rock solid, blocking shots. Where the Lightning, they just kept getting shots into the net as the Bruins defense was just too slow to pucks. And looking at Game 5, 3 deflections, 3 redirections were the Tampa goals. It's just so infuriating. You for sure, Grant, you can't blame Halak for this. I mean, Halak played well at times. Obviously, we saw some flaws in his games at times where he should have made saves that he didn't. But let's be real. If the Bruins had Tuukka Rask in goal, they were still not going to win this series, in my opinion. And look, it's not a shame that the Bruins lost to this Tampa team because I think these are the 2 best teams in the league, but it's in the fashion that they lost that's disappointing. If they lost the series in, 6 or 7 games and they played really competitive with them, then it would be, a fine pill to swallow for all Bruins fans because, Tampa were just the better team. Yeah, the way the Lightning just dominated the Bruins and pretty much outplayed them the entire series in 1 in 5 games, just very disappointing for the Bruins because it wasn't even close this series, to be quite honest with you. After Game 3, you just, even though it was just 2-1 in the series, you kind of felt like that was it. The Lightning had all the momentum going their way, and everyone was clicking. That Lightning team stacked, and the Lightning fans should be disappointed if this team.
They were doing it without Stamkos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that shows how good the Tampa team is and how far off the Bruins really were. The Lightning were without McDonough for a majority of the series too. And still won comfortably. So, and those are 2 of their best players. So, yeah, this Tampa team is loaded from top to bottom. The Bruins can't say the same. Yes, the Bruins have some really good players, but there are gaps in their lineup on both offense and defense. Tampa Bay, they're just stacked, from first to fourth line, really. So, yeah, this Lightning team, you got to watch out for them. I think whoever they play, the Islanders or the Flyers, they should definitely beat them and probably win the cup as well, no matter who they face from the West, if they get that far.
Yeah. All right, so
now I'm not
next,
the one to point fingers at officials. Just one last comment. I'm not the one who points fingers at officials and like, oh, this determined a game. But I've seen a couple times in the playoffs, once against Carolina in Game 5 against the Lightning, where Charlie McAvoy has a head-on collision in the boards. Neither of them were called 2-minute penalties, nor suspensions, nothing like that. Okay, I get a 5-minute major. I get maybe not, paying a fine, especially if he's on the ice 5 minutes later. But you got to call a 2-minute penalty. You got to imply these rules. You always talk about, NHL player safety. You got to imply these rules. When, these players get head-on collisions, even if it is sometimes by accident. You still got to call them for the player's safety.
I'm glad you mentioned that too. Yeah, that was a secret. I feel like I think the NBC commentators were saying, that's just unfortunate for Paquette because McAvoy was in an awkward position. I think honestly that was a dirty hit from Paquette. I really do. Yeah. And luckily for the Bruins, McAvoy was able to come back into the game and he made an impact. I love Charlie McAvoy. Every time he's on the ice, his presence is felt. But yeah, it's mind-boggling how that wasn't a penalty. It was a similar hit in my opinion as the one that Nick Ritchie delivered on. I forget who it was from Tampa that was on the receiving end, but yeah, it was Yanni Gord. Yeah. And Ritchie got a 5-minute major for that, deservedly so. I couldn't believe there wasn't even a minor on Paquette for that hit. I mean, come on. That was But no, I'm not blaming the refs. Just as Grant brought up that one incident, that mind-blowing. And
yeah, because one incident isn't going to change the whole series. Right. One incident's not going to change the whole series, but it's still kind of like, come on, man, you got to call those sometime.
Yeah.
Next topic that I would like to point out, which is related to the NHL draft. So the New Jersey Devils are expecting to select Marco Rossi for the 2020 NHL draft. I think this is going to be an interesting draft pick because Marco Rossi from the Ottawa 67th went insane in the OHL. Leading point scorer, leading goal scorer, all that. Do you think that the New Jersey Devils could select Marco Rossi? Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I'm not an expert on these players that are projected to be at the top of the draft. I'm not an OHL expert. Don't know a lot about the league, but just looking at his statistics and how good he was, I feel like this is a guy who has a lot of potential. And I feel like if New Jersey can get a guy who can score goals consistently, which they really don't have a guy who can do that right now. I feel like if they can get someone like Marco Rossi who can score goals on a consistent basis at a productive level, that could be huge for New Jersey because I feel like the Devils' defense is pretty solid. I feel like when it comes to their offense, that's what they need to improve on if the Devils want to be a possible playoff team, and maybe Marco Rossi is the answer. So yeah, that just looking at his stats in the OHL, this could definitely be a guy I feel like that the Devils end up selecting.
Yeah. Grant, what do you think about Marco Rossi? Maybe go to the Devils.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's smart. I mean, they definitely need to improve on that forward core. So I'd say, yeah, go for it, honestly, because, yeah, no, I mean, the Devils, they have a very young team, and I think that could be a very exciting team to watch in a couple of years, especially, put on the same line with Nico Hischier and Kyle Palmieri, and hey, you might see something out of this kid. I think if you use him correctly, I think he could do well. So, yeah, I'm all for it if he was going to go to the Devils. All for it.
Yes. Next topic, we have a trade to announce. The St. Louis Blues trade goaltender Jake Allen and a 2022 7th-round pick to the Montreal Canadiens for a 2023 3rd-round pick and a 2020 7th-round pick. I disagree about that trade because you have some players from the Laval Rocket who can crack an NHL roster. You got Charlie Lindgren backing up, was okay, but what if Carey Price out of nowhere gets traded like maybe next hour or like tomorrow next week?
Carey Price ain't getting traded. Don't even bring him up in the news. He ain't getting traded. Don't even think about it.
I'm just saying like who knows, like out of nowhere. Jake Allen, he was good as a starter before Binnington cracked in the NHL scene. I don't think
Jake was good for like 2 years, and then he quickly fell off. He honestly might be one of the biggest. I know there's a lot of like 1 or 2 year wonders for like NHL goalies, but Jake Allen's definitely no exception. He is right there as one of the biggest 1 or 2 year wonders in NHL goaltender history. I mean, the guy was literally a top 10 goalie in the league, and all of a sudden the next season you're like, oh my God, he's bad. And now you're like, oh, who's this Jordan Binnington kid? Hey, he won a cup now. Sorry, Jake Allen, you're out the door. It's like, this is what it is, but you got to play a little bit better. When you knew that the seat was getting hot when they brought up Binnington, he just decided to play worse, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think about the trade?
Yeah, this was a weird trade and kind of unexpected in my opinion, because I just didn't see this coming. When I look at it from both angles, it's kind of still a little bit baffling to me. Now, look, I think I mean, Jake Allen, he's all right. I mean, I think I'm more up on him than maybe other people. I think he started a couple games. He started a couple games in the playoffs when they benched Binnington and has done actually pretty well. I think Jake Allen's a solid goaltender. And honestly, I'm not saying Binnington is, well, I kind of am, but I think Binnington is slightly overrated. I'm not saying like he's completely overrated and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think Binnington was hyped up a little too much, and don't get me wrong, he was extraordinary last season in the playoffs, especially, and all that. This season, he's been fine. He's been a fine starter. He's not great though, and St. Louis are paying him a bucket load of money. But from the Blues' perspective, I mean, I don't know why they really dealt out Allen. I would have kept him because Allen's a solid backup who's at least shown that he can play decently in goal if they need him as a starter. Whereas, Binnington sometimes we've seen over the course of this season has gotten in some slumps where they've called upon Allen to start a few games now and then. And Allen's done well at times, or at least decent, every time he's been called upon by the Blues. So I would have kept him if I was St. Louis because I think he's a solid backup to have, especially with a fraudulent goalie, in my opinion, in Binnington. Right. Can be shaky at times. Now, looking at it from the Montreal perspective, it's a little bit strange in my opinion because, as you said, Alex, I mean, yes, Carey Price is getting up there in age. Obviously, Carey Price, I see him staying in Montreal. He's been phenomenal, and he's their guy. But as Alex said, surely you have some good guys in the minors that you can bring up. I don't really think, this move was necessary for Montreal, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess Jake Allen will be, embracing the backup role, but I don't know if he's really necessary to have for the Canadians, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know how much longer Carey Price. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of weird for me on both sides. I wasn't expecting it, and now that the trade's been made, I don't know if it makes complete sense from both sides, in my opinion. I mean, I would say so. I would lean towards, Montreal slightly winning this trade, but I don't know. If I were St. Louis, I would have kept him, and I don't necessarily think Montreal needed to get Jake Allen. So that's my overall, those are my overall thoughts on this trade. Kind of a baffling one, in my opinion.
Yeah. And speaking of trade,
it's like there wasn't even a rumor or anything. It's just like it just happened.
It did. Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah. And another trade that I would like to talk about, which was in the trade deadline, I would like to talk about the Christian Juice trade, Washington to Anaheim. I kind of disagree the trade because let's just say this: Christian Juice is potentially to become a steal for the Capitals. Yes, like he played 11 games this year. 11 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and +2 rating. And in his career, 119 games, 5 goals, 22 assists, 27 points, and +25 rating. I'll tell you this. If he plays in a full season for the next 2 years, I think I see him to become a steal. So do you guys agree if Juice can be a steal? Grant?
Sure. I mean, it just depends how productive he is. And as long as you can stay healthy and out of the minors, sure. I mean, I really do think, based on what I've seen out of him so far, I've been pretty impressed. And I really do think he has a shot to succeed on a very young Ducks team, especially when we're talking about 2 or 3 years down the road when they're probably back in playoff contention. Yeah, I do think Juice could definitely be, a top 4 defenseman by that time if he can just stay healthy and continue to produce decent numbers, especially that plus-minus rating. So, sure, I could easily see this in a couple years being a steal for the Ducks. Absolutely.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree as well. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Alex. It's definitely a wait and see game with him because we'll have to wait and see if he can stay healthy. But yeah, from a couple of the Capitals games that I saw when Juice was playing, obviously he didn't play in many games this season, but when he was on the ice, he actually made an impact, and I was impressed at times from his performances. In the few games that he did play with Washington this year. So yeah, if you give him, as Alex said, if you give him more playing time, he could really develop into a solid player out in Anaheim. So yeah, he could turn out to be a steal, but it is an if. We'll have to wait and see on it. I just think Washington lost their patience with him because he has been in the league for quite a while now. So I can't really blame Washington fully for letting him go. But then I also can't blame Anaheim for getting him because he could turn out to be a steal. We'll just have to wait and see. It's a gamble I think worth taking for Anaheim because it could turn out it could turn out well for them and it could pay off for the Ducks, I feel like.
Yeah. This is a good news, which I'm so happy, but a little bit not happy. The Penguins have hired former Caps head coach, my good old friend Todd Reirden. Okay. Yes, Reirden to Pittsburgh, right where he started his coaching job. I did not see this coming. I thought that he would be like a front office level. But I think as an assistant coach, I think that it's a better choice other than being a head coach. So what do you guys think about Reirden to back to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think Reirden's a good coach, just not a head coach, because obviously we've seen it the last 2 years of Washington getting bounced out of the first round back-to-back years. He's not a head coach, but we've seen in Pittsburgh he's a pretty solid assistant. So therefore, I do think this will work in Pittsburgh. I think this will be fine. Now, if they were to fire Mike Sullivan, which honestly could happen, I would not go to Reirden as your head coach, because obviously we've seen Capitals fired Barry Trotz, and look what happened with Reirden with the Capitals. So I would say you could fire Mike Sullivan, but quickly get another coach. I would not leave Todd Reirden like more than like a month as your replacement coach, because it seems like the Magic's going to quickly run out there, and especially if your team makes the playoffs, the clock's going to strike midnight and you're going to be out of the first round, which Pittsburgh is definitely a playoff team. But I'm just saying, if the Penguins have a little bit of an off year, Mike Sullivan gets fired, I would not rely on Todd Reirden being your full-time head coach moving forward.
Yeah, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, he's a great assistant coach, but the pressure is just too much for him, I feel like, as a head coach. We saw how abysmal it was for him at the Capitals, and it just doesn't seem like he's fit to be a successful head coach in the National Hockey League. And Pittsburgh is where he started out. Now he'll be an assistant there. And as you said, Alex, it's definitely more easier to be an assistant coach because, barely any pressure is put on you. It's all put on the head coach, isn't it? So I feel like that's a more comfortable role for Todd Reirden, to be honest with you. But as Grant said, if by any chance Mike Sullivan is fired and they're looking for a new head coach, I would not promote Reirden to the head coaching position at all. I'd search for someone else because, at a place like Pittsburgh, especially where there's pressure year after year to make a deep playoff run and win a cup, I just feel like that pressure would be too much from Reirden. We saw at an organization in the Capitals where they expect to win every year as well, how disastrous it went for Todd Reirden. I don't feel like he'd be up for the pressure if he did take the head coaching job at Pittsburgh. So I think if Mike Sullivan is out the door anytime soon, they'll go for someone else, and Todd Reirden will stay as the assistant, because that's what Todd Reirden needs to be, an assistant coach. He's good at that. Head coach, it just hasn't worked out for him. So I don't really blame the Penguins for hiring him as assistant coach. I just be careful if down the road he's an option to hire as the head coach, because I would not do it. That would be a risky decision, in my opinion, based on what we saw from him as the head coach in Washington.
Yes. And speaking of head coaches, the Capitals are interviewing right now Peter Laviolette. Get this. Yes? Hi, this is Brian McClellan. I'm the general manager of the Washington Capitals. We would like to have you be our next head coach of the Capitals. Would you? Okay, see you there. Yes, we want to know the Stanley Cup on Laviolette. Have him go to the Stanley Cup final. He was in the three Stanley Cups with Carolina, Philadelphia, Nashville, 4, Washington. I'm going to say that. Grant, do you think they can?
Yeah, I don't think they would go far if they had the right coach. Reirden's obviously not the right coach, but I do think if you pick up someone like Laviolette or Gallant or, maybe even Bruce Boudreau can have a higher.
No.
Do something if they're going to be coached. Hey, listen. Marquis Bruce was a very good coach for the Capitals first and foremost. Second.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
But yeah.
Yeah, I think.
What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I think he's the best option. I mean, Peter Laviolette, I know he's been with a number of teams now, but he's a good coach. I think I really do think, and maybe I have a little bit of bias. Shout out to Peter Laviolette because he is from the great town of Franklin, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. He's actually from the town I live in. So, and his one of his daughters works at my high school. But anyways, that's besides the point. I think Peter Laviolette, he has shown that he's a good coach in the NHL. I'm surprised the Capitals haven't already hired him, to be honest with you, unless Laviolette is looking at other options. But I think this is the best coaching job available. It is. The Washington Capitals is a good organization to coach where you'll have the potential to win Stanley Cup. So, I think sooner rather than later, within the next week, they'll hire him. And I think the Capitals would be silly not to hire him because there's not any other coaches available, in my opinion, that are anywhere near experienced or have shown as much success as him in their NHL coaching career. So yeah, I'd go for him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debates between Gerard Gallant and Pierre Laviolette. So I'm going to compare to this. Gerard Gallant is a winning head coach. This dude took Vegas in their first year to the Stanley Cup final against my team. 55 wins, which was their best. Lost in the first round, saying that, okay, from that controversial hit, no worries. We'll figure out. Yes. They fired him at the end of the first half, at the All-Star break. I'm telling you, that was shocking.
I mean, you replaced him with Peter DeBoer. It's like, why would you do that? It made no sense.
And Vegas is lucky. They were lucky making the playoffs. They're almost going to the conference final. I think they were lucky. They were lucky. I gotta tell you that.
They're a good team. Come on, Alex. I think they're the best team in the West.
I mean, you could say some luck's involved, but I mean, it's just mainly because Robin Lehner's staying on his heading. William Karlsson and Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty, they're just doing what first liners do, and that's just producing the big games. So overall, I mean, yeah, sure, a little bit's luck, and I know I think DeBoer being carried, would be a better word more than luck, just to kind of carrying the coach a little bit. But I think overall, you got to give some credit to a lot of these Knights forwards and defensemen, obviously Robin Lehner, and even Fleury when he stepped in. He's 3-0 in the playoffs, Fleury. It's just incredible the fact that the Knights, who even after that devastating loss to Washington, even after that 4-1 blown or 4-0 blown lead against the Sharks last year in the playoffs, they are just back, and they're just 1 win away from the Western Conference Finals. And hopefully I'm sitting here next week talking about the Knights potentially facing the Lightning in the finals, because that's right now my finals prediction, as I'm assuming it's many's. But I don't know. We'll see. But I wouldn't say it's all luck. It's definitely talents involved, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Washington, so Vlad Nemesnikov, Karl Soderberg, and Matthias Janmark are all options for the Capitals if Ilya Kovalchuk does not re-sign. So of all those three, who do you think who's going to sign with Washington? Janmark, Nemesnikov, or Soderberg? Grant, would you like to start? I think he's
who would make more sense would be Janmark, I would think. Who they're going to actually go after, I would probably say Nemesnikov, because Lightning, they love because the Capitals, they love their former Lightning. They love their former Lightning.
Of course they do.
Yeah, but, in reality, he actually is a pretty good player with the Avalanche currently. I mean, he's been a big role in, their success there in the postseason. I know they're back against the wall against the Stars right now. But I think overall, I like Nemesnikov quite a bit. I think I could easily see the Capitals re-signing him. Karl Soderberg will definitely get signed somewhere. He's definitely at Arizona, but I just don't really know who would pick him up. Of course, former Bruins, so I have respect for him, but overall, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who will replace Kovalchuk.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Grant here. I think it's going to be Nemesnikov for all the reasons that Grant just listed off. He pretty much hit on all the points I was going to mention. Yeah, I think the Capitals are invested in Nemesnikov, and they are very they have a lot of hope in him that he can do big things. You know, it remains to be seen how big of an impact he can make for this Washington team, but he's definitely got potential, and I think that's out of those three who they'll keep, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'd say Nemestikov as well.
Yeah, I'm going with Nemestikov, hands down.
Yep.
Coyotes legend Shane Doan wants to have an NHL front office position. Will it work? Sam, do you think that Shane Doan will work at front office?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess this one I have no idea, to be honest with you. I don't know if we all don't know if he'll have success working in the front office. That remains to be seen. It's kind of, you know, a coin flip, because we just have no idea if he'll have success in the front office. So it remains to be seen. I can't say, you know, yes or no definitively. We'll just have to wait and see on this one.
Yeah, Grant, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Shane Doan will overall do a good job if he was to go to the front office. But, I mean, this is kind of a branch where, I mean, I'd just be guessing and just kind of just saying. I mean, I think the NHL committee, for the most part, does a good job. I mean, why not add another face, especially since he just retired a couple of years ago. He's been in the league for around 20 years. I mean, it wouldn't, you know, it would be, I think, beneficial to have someone like Shane Doan there, but I don't know. I guess we'll come back to that if he ever gets hired. We'll certainly bring it up here on the show. But until then, I really nothing for you.
Yeah. So there's been a trade rumor about involving the Wild and the Penguins. So the Penguins would like to get Jonas Brodin from the Wild for goaltender Matt Murray. Do you think this is going to be a good trade if it was official? Grant, would you like to start?
Sure. Wild. Alex Salok's good, Devin Dubnyk's good, but you need someone better, and that's Matt Murray. Jonas Brodin on the Penguins would be fantastic, because you put him on the same line with John Marino, and you are just quickening his development. That's what I would do if I would make this trade. I don't think it would be Murray for Brodin. I think Pittsburgh or Minnesota, one of the two teams, probably Pittsburgh, will have to add in like a second-round pick. But overall, why not do it? And I know we mentioned before the Penguins, they're fine with goaltending. Of course, Casey DeSmith in the AHL. Of course, Tristan Jarry made the All-Star game this year. So overall, I think Penguins are fine. We definitely think Matt Murray's out the door. It's going to be interesting. I would say for Jonas Brodin, why not? And especially for Minnesota, if they want to get a huge contract like Dubnyk off their hands, might as well bite the bullet and make this trade, especially since Minnesota's still kind of out of that contending window a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were the Wild, I'd go for it as well. Why not? Because it makes sense from both sides on this one. Because Pittsburgh have no reason to keep Matt Murray, but he is a good goaltender, and I think he could find success in Minnesota. And Minnesota, for the Minnesota Wild, goaltending is a position of need for them. That's definitely for certain. So yeah, I think you know, the Penguins have no reason to keep him, and the Wild have every reason to get him. And I think Matt Murray could be the answer to, you know, I wouldn't say the unsuccess that has been had at the goalie position in Minnesota, but I would say the inconsistencies. They haven't really had someone who's been, you know, solid and a great number one for them. And I think Matt Murray could be that guy. And I think Matt Murray is also desperately looking for a starting position somewhere, because he knows that he's good enough to be a starter, and I definitely think he is. And yeah, Minnesota could be that place for him. And before I toss it back to you, Alex, I do have to head off, unfortunately. But thanks for having me on, guys. I greatly appreciate it. I always enjoy coming on as a guest on the Powerskateshow. Keep up the great work, Grant and Alex. Yeah. I enjoy tuning into your show every Wednesday. And I also enjoy being a special guest. And so thanks for having me on, guys. I enjoyed discussing all the topics around the world of the NHL. And have a great night.
Yes, and we
will. No problem. Definitely will want to have you back on. Always a pleasure.
I appreciate
it. And we will link Sam's account in the description after this. Yeah. So
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Have a good night. Enjoy your broadcasting.
See you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sam.
Sam on here.
Yeah. All right. We'll do a couple more just to get out.
Yeah, I mean, on my notes, I had like a bunch of like I was quick to go over them. Like Patrick Russell re-signed with the Oilers. Vlad named Kev signed a 2-year deal in the KHL. But like I really don't think, especially this is going on way longer than I think we originally expected. I don't think we're gonna really touch on those topics. But yeah, there's still a couple more topics to go over. So if you would like to continue.
Yeah. Frederick Anderson to Carolina, and if they would trade between Reimer or Mrazek.
This is an interesting one because I don't think Frederick Anderson's going to Carolina, and I do think Carolina's going to stick with Reimer or Mrazek. By the way, if I was trade Reimer. I think that's because he's older and he's probably making a little bit more money. But overall, where do I see Frederick Anderson going? I honestly think he's staying in Toronto. I don't know why everyone's like, oh, Frederick Anderson's going to Pittsburgh. Oh, he's going to Carolina. Oh, he's going to Minnesota or Nashville, or whatever. I'm like, no, I think at least for another year or two, he's staying with Toronto. At least another year or two. What do you think?
As long as if they get some value in the free agent market, if they grab like a veteran goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, to replace Frederick Anderson with, like, Brendan Hope? I mean, you're pretty much getting Frederick Anderson 2.0 there, so.
Yeah. And for me, who would trade? Ayers. I'm joking now.
All right.
Nah, he's – oh, I should – why? Because, oh, yeah, he should play for the Maple Leafs. Yeah, okay. In all seriousness, I'm going to – Reimer. Have him go back to Toronto.
Why would they do that? They might as well get back Jonathan Bernier. Hey, that could happen too. I don't know. Detroit might want to get rid of Bernier.
And I think my house is raining. All right. Anyway,
your house is raining?
No, outside. I meant.
I know what you meant. I was just checking.
Okay. Sidney Crosby out 3 to 4 weeks with this wrist. At least that the Penguins are in the off season. They shouldn't worry about because he's gonna be ready at the start.
Well, Crosby's gonna be ready. Suffered an injury, but Crosby. He's in the news. Got to post it. I find it so funny. Of course, Sam Fetterman, of course, fellow sportscaster. He's been on the show a couple times. I love how on the Twitter he's just like, "Oh, Grant, what does this injury affect Crosby? His golf skills? Because obviously Pittsburgh's out of place." I'm like, haha, that's pretty funny. But yeah, exactly. Same thing with Coyote Center, Brad Richardson. He's out with an injury as well. But both men should be back for the regular season. So definitely good for those respective teams.
And Grant, there's one thing that I would like for you to share the screen. So the ECHL South Carolina. Yep, it's raining.
Really, right when I exit off the
lightning. There, we got lightning. All right. So the ECHL South Carolina Stingrays, unveiled their new uniforms. So would you like to
share? Yeah, just exit out everything. But yeah, hold up. I'll pull it back up here.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm gonna make a spoiler alert. It looks like the Caps jerseys, but we can just talk about it anyway.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I if I remember correctly, I thought they looked solid. So,
yeah,
look through here.
Yeah, and everyone, make sure to follow the Powerskateshow podcast on Instagram.
Yeah, because I mean, you take a look at this, and Alex does such a nice job. You're posting the final scores, posting the up-to-date news. Awesome, there they are.
Yes. Yes, it does look like the Caps jerseys because it looks like because they're affiliated with the Washington Capitals. One thing that I like is that they put the sponsors on the jerseys.
You see, that's what I don't like. I don't like that. I mean, sure, Chevy, whatever, good truck company, but overall, I don't like that. I know they've been doing that in the NBA, and it's just. It's a jersey. You shouldn't be wearing sponsors on your jerseys. NASCAR is one thing when you're in a jumpsuit, but for hockey, for basketball, for football, and especially for baseball, do not be wearing sponsors on your jersey. I am a big hate on that. I do not like when teams do that.
Yeah. Well, like AHL does it, but
AHL, well, I don't really. That's the thing. It's the AHL, though. Like, okay, minor league teams can do it. I don't care, but for professional level, you shouldn't be doing it.
yes.
Just put some more advertisements on the boards. There you go.
Yes. I'll throw out two more. So the Panthers have hired former Blue Jackets assistant coach Bill Zito for the next 5 years, and Dale Talon fired for using racial slur during the bubble.
Yeah, that's why I know a few weeks ago we were like, oh, why did Dale Talon get fired? Well, he's doing a good job. And I'll explain it, the racial slur in the bubble. Can you shut his mouth? Does he blind morality that he doesn't realize like the Black Lives Matter stuff going on right now? Does Dale Talon that? Ugh.
Florida is about
to get fired. That's all I'm saying is you're saying something stupid like that, you deserve to get fired. Simple as that.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, honestly, but yeah. Why, Dale Talon? You're a team that's about almost a playoff team, and now you do this. I'm gonna say this. That's I'm not gonna say it. It's stupid. What? Last topic. I'll tell you off stream. Could the Jets sign Alex Pietrangelo to a short-term deal?
I'm not against no, but I think if Pietrangelo is going to sign, he's going to want money for a long-term deal. I think he's also going to stay in St. Louis. I would say Winnipeg would be an option due to kind of their lackluster-ish bottom four. But the problem is it's a short deal. If you make it like a 4 or 5 year deal, I think Pietrangelo accepts. If you're only giving him a 1 or 2 year deal, I think he's going to decline. Because Pietrangelo, he already won his cup. I get that. But he's right now in that stage where, hey, I'm pretty much near the end of my prime, and I got to try win another championship or two. And I think Winnipeg is close to that championship form. It's just Pietrangelo's not going to sit around. And he ain't going to he's just not going to take a 1 or 2 year deal.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes. And one thing before we sign off, I would like to show how crazy the comments were from the mock trade and the Maple Leafs and the LA Kings. It's laughable. It's ridiculous. It's so here was the mock trade if you want to share it.
That mock trade?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll pull that up in a sec here. That trade got 47 likes and 23 comments. Look at that. That's quality right there. Like,
yeah. Okay. That was ridiculous. Yes. Here's a mock trade. The Toronto Maple Leafs trade Mitch Marner and Zach Hyman to the LA Kings for Drew Doughty. Would you accept this trade? Let us know down in the comments.
No. Even Doughty in his prime, when he was the best defenseman in the league, I wouldn't even do that. No way. Because Marner is way too important, and Zach Hyman, okay, most part he's on the third line, but he's arguably a top 5 third liner in the league. Zach Hyman. I like him a lot. So, no, I wouldn't. I've even seen a rumor, Zach said trade, and the Kings' second overall pick. Even then, I wouldn't do it because Mitch Marner, he just works so well with Tavares and Matthews and whoever would put him on that line. And then sure, Zach Hyman, maybe you could trade away, but just not for Drew Doughty. I think there's other forwards you could trade him to the Kings, like Austin Wagner, who just got re-signed the other day. Austin Wagner. I'm thinking maybe – I don't know, maybe you want to, you get rid of Jason Spezza, maybe you could bring in Dustin Brown, or I don't know. You could do something along the lines of that for Zach Hyman. But honestly, if I was Toronto, I would not get rid of Matthews. Or not Matthews. Obviously, don't get rid of Matthews, but you don't get rid of Marner either.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yes. Now I'm looking at the comments. It's now laughable. So ha ha ha. Great job, guys. You guys have done an amazing job, going crazy, spamming with the word no, which is the most important word of all. Okay, I guess we're gonna end up on a hilarious note. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tune into the podcast. Episode 20 is in the books. If you guys like this video, the podcast, whatever it's called, please hit the like button down and greatly appreciates lots to me. Check us out on our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm not going to say again. You guys know the drill. Check out Grant on Instagram, plus Sports and for Daily Sports News. I'm just going to say this. Y'all know the drill. I've been saying this too many times. And
you gotta repeat it, dude.
Yes, and tell all your friends. Piola Viola,
2-year-old Zamboni driver who works for them. That is the most important line of them all.
Yes. I'm gonna say this. Tell all your friends. Make a protest to sign David Ayers to the Carolina Hurricanes on a 2-year deal.
All right.
You can do your outro, Grant.
Well, yeah, I'm Grant Fluff from Fletcher Sports on Live Docs. Also saying, hope you enjoyed episode 20 of the Powerskate Show. Always a blast having Sam, Reis, and whoever else we have on here. It's always a good time. And I'll be back next Wednesday. Again,
Last week of summer for me.
This week, I don't know. No, I'm gonna start school the 16th, so I think I got 2 weeks left. But
for you,
unfortunately, what the deal is when both of our schools starts, we're gonna still try to do it at 7 Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So work for you
if necessary.
Hopefully, we'll cross that bridge once we get there. But
yeah. All right. Yeah, we're gonna end it. Tell your friends. Have David Ayers sign for a 2-year deal with the Carolina Hurricanes. You guys have a nice day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Grant Fluff from Fletcher Sports on Knox, also from the DMV Sports Net, saying have a good night.